Kim Baer is here, attorney at law, and we're going to talk about some things that's going to be, interesting to a lot of folks, and particular are pertinent to a lot of people in our audience.
Yes. This morning I thought what we'd talk about is some common misunderstandings that we see in family law.
Okay.
We obviously have people come into the office all the time, and we hear different things that recur that people will say, I heard that my child is 14 or 15 and now they can pick who they're going to live with. And that actually is a misunderstanding of Iowa law. And so actually what the law is that a child who is 13, 14, 15, 16 can express a preference.
I see.
But that's just one of like 20, 24 factors that the court considers. And so when we explain that to people and we say, look, it is important who your child wants to live with, but the courts recognize that sometimes teenagers want to live with the fun parent.
Yeah. Sure.
Sometimes teenagers want to live with the parent that they feel really needs them, because sometimes kids kind of get caught in the middle. And so the court really says, all right, that's one factor we're going to consider, but your child does not get to pick.
They don't get to pick.
They don't get to pick.
So you can't say, oh, they picked me because I'm the better parent.
Right, exactly. And we do have a lot of times people come in, they're either getting a divorce or they've been divorced and now their teenager is saying, hey, I've been with mom all this time, now I want to be with dad. And dad will come in and say, well, this is what he said, so let's go to court. And we have to explain to him, to the dad, no, you need more than that.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, see, so there you go.
So in that case, the dad is kind of, okay, go ahead.
So let's say you're in a divorce proceedings, or you decided you thought you would act civil, and then you go through the process and you realize you're not going to act civil anymore, and you're not seeing your child as much as you want to. Is that a situation where you have to take them back to court, or what filing process do you have to go through so you can make that happen?
So that's called a modification.
Okay.
So but you still have to show a substantial change in circumstance. So what has happened from the time of your decree to now that has changed? Or is it a situation that in your decree you're supposed to have a lot more time than you're getting? Then that might be a contempt action, because that's a court order and both parents are obligated to follow it. And a lot of times when we get involved, the parent who has custody is not following it for whatever reason. They might be mad at the spouse. They might think that something about the decree wasn't fair. Sometimes we see parents unfortunately withhold the children because they didn't get a car payment or something.
Really?
Is that legal, or is that not legal?
No, that's not. You have to follow a court order. The visitation plan is the court order. And so the court can hold the parent in contempt. And often we ask for attorney's fees for something like that as well. So you kind of get into that. Another thing that we see is child support. So child support is set by statute in Iowa, and it's based on a calculation. And so a lot of times people will come in and say, hey, my ex-husband just got a great new job, and I'm sure he's making a lot more money, so we want to go back and modify child support. And what people don't understand is it's not necessarily an increase in income. The child support amount has to go up by 10%. So in other words, a 5% or a $5,000 increase in your salary might have no effect whatsoever on child support.
I see.
But a $10,000, $15,000 increase might. So that's just one more.
So sometimes it's worth pursuing and sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. The nice thing is that most attorneys who practice in family law have a program. So you can come in, we offer free 30-minute consultations. You can come in, you can say, here's how much I make, here's how much I think my spouse is making, and we can run it and say, all right, here's what we think child support would be, and then we can see whether or not we've got that 10% deviation.
All right.
So
what are
that's what
some
you have
other
to look
myths?
at,
Yeah, so that's one. And then another one is we see a lot of people coming in today who say, if I have shared care, if I do joint physical with my spouse and we get divorced, my child support that I have to pay will go down. And so that sounds like that's a great deal for me. I'll get my child a lot more and I have to pay less money. But what they don't realize is that in shared care, both parents then have to split the cost of just about everything. So if you've got a young child, you've got daycare costs, and as we know, that can range usually about $200 a week.
Right.
And so now you're on the hook for half of that. Right. You've got school fees, you've got extracurricular activities, you've got summer camps, and so a lot of times we have to sit down with people and say, shared care is fabulous because you're going to have your child 50%, but if there's a concern about money, Usually shared care is not going to be less expensive. So we sit down with them and kind of run a budget so that they can make an educated decision.
So you'll plug the numbers in and let them see what the bottom line
Right,
is.
yeah, exactly, because most people already know, I mean, what the cost of the daycare is, what the cost of school fees are, you know, and when kids get more expensive, you start talking about expensive clothes, you've got cell phones, you've got car insurance.
Does that include medical bills and things like that?
Well, and the medical's treated differently.
Okay.
So the medical is usually treated, whoever has primary care gets has to pay the first $250 per child, and then everything is split, and it's usually by a percentage of income.
Okay.
So, but that's just one more thing that you have to pay. I mean, you know, kids are expensive, and child support really is not meant to cover. It's a subsidy. It's not meant to cover everything.
Right.
So that's one of the things we
Yeah,
get into too.
I saw on a TV program just yesterday the cost of raising a child to the age of 18, $250,000 now.
Yeah.
You know, that's a minimum figure, $250,000.
And that doesn't include, obviously, college, if it's to the age.
It doesn't include college, and in Iowa we have a what's called a college subsidy for parents who have been married and get divorced, and that is that the parents are required to pay a third of the child's in-state tuition. And it's not just tuition; it's books and college fees. And
How many
things like
people
that.
have ever come into your practice and said, I want this right now, I want, and they're determined, and then you plug all the numbers in, and then they go, never mind.
That happens.
Has it-
It
has
does.
it-
It does.
Never
It does.
mind.
People come in and they have a perception of what it's going to be like, and then they see financially what's going to happen, because then we also have a division of assets, 401ks, the house, and then sometimes they say, okay, financially it's not worth it. And we also, when people come in to talk to us, we always encourage them to go try counseling.
I was going to
because-
say,
yeah.
it sounds like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you make it as easy and as pain-free
Yeah.
as possible, but it still sounds like
Oh, it's
It's a
not. It's
process.
not a pleasant process by any means. I've been through one, and so we always talk to people about that. You need to be 150% sure,
Right.
and if you're not, let's go to counseling. And then one other point I would make is that the courts have the authority to order the other spouse to go to counseling. So sometimes we have spouses that come in and say, "I've asked and asked, and he won't go or she won't go," and we say, "Well, all right, then we'll order them to go." You know, you never know whether that's going to work, but sometimes it
it's
does.
worth a shot.
All right, people have some questions and they want to get a hold of you. How do they get a hold of you?
Sure, just give me a call at 515-INJURED. We're right across the street from Bet's Auditorium.
And you said for family practice, you do offer a 3-minute free consultation?
Yeah, 30-minute
30
free
minutes.
30-minute free consultation. Just give us a call.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Good to see you.
Good to see you
Okay.
too.
It is